Good morning, everybody. How are you feeling on day 179 of the year? Hopefully, you're waking up slowly, enjoying some yin time, and enjoying the cycle of a new day wherever you are in the world. On day 179 of the year, according to 365 Tao by Deng Ming Dao, our word for today is war. So grab your books, grab your journal, and something to write with. Find that nice, quiet and comfy place where you're not going to be disturbed for the next 15 minutes or so while we read together. If you can be outside in the natural world, that's always a beautiful way to start your day. Take a couple of nice deep breaths to be here and now and present and grounded. And remember that when you exhale for a longer inhale, you're naturally telling your body to downregulate. So that's something that you can do, not just right now, but at any point in time throughout the day if you kind of feel like you need a little reset. So let's start reading together on day 179 on the subject of war. Weapons are tools of ill omens, wielded by the ignorant. If their use is unavoidable, the wise act with restraint. The greatest sorrow is to be a veteran, witness to the atrocities of humanity. If you hold a real weapon in your hand, you will feel its character strongly. It begs to be used. It is fearsome. Its only purpose is death, and its power is not just in the material from which it is made, but also from the intention of its makers. Wow, that's a very interesting way to think about a gun or a knife or like any weapon, and have a moment to think about that. That's actually really, really poignant because I love how it speaks to the intention of its makers. It's not just the fact that it's made from the material that it's made from, but its very intention, its creation, like from the inception of the idea to actually putting that into action and creating this thing, its intention was death. Its intention was to kill, and you can feel that. It's like really, really interesting to think about the power of your intentions. So maybe take a moment to think about that, not just in the context of a weapon, but think about how placing your intention on something can change the energy of it so significantly. It is regrettable that weapons must sometimes be used, but occasionally survival demands it. The wise go forth with weapons only as a last resort. They never rejoice in the skill of weapons, nor do they glorify war. When death, pain, and destruction are visited upon what you hold to be most sacred, the spiritual price is devastating. What hurts more than one's own suffering is bearing witness to the suffering of others. Oof, that is a really, really strong sentence right there. I'm going to reread it and then take a moment to think about how significant it is. What hurts more than one's own suffering is bearing witness to the suffering of others. The regret of seeing human beings at their worst and the sheer pain of not being able to help the victims can never be redeemed. If you go personally to war, you cross the line yourself. You sacrifice ideals for survival and the fury of killing. That alters you forever. That is why no one rushes to be a veteran. Think before you want to change so unalterably. Oof. And that doesn't just apply to this context, but this is such an important rule for life. Think before you want to change so unalterably. There are some things that once you do them, you will never ever be able to undo them. Going to war, killing, all of these things that we're speaking about here, you can never undo that. So before you undertake anything like that, obviously that's an extreme, but before you undertake anything, think about the long-term implications of that choice, and especially if they cannot be changed. The stakes are not merely one's life, but one's very humanity. So again, it's kind of similar to yesterday. Perhaps I should have prefaced this that it might be quite a triggering subject for some people, especially if, I don't know, perhaps you're a veteran yourself or somebody close to you is, or you've been, someone you love has been a victim of, as it says here, atrocities of humanity. And this is, one of those dark things that we have to think about in life. It's that yin and the yang that is like everything in life. Not everything's going to be sunshine and happy and rainbows and unicorns. This is, a very dark thing to have to think about, but it's also part of life, and we can't go through life just ignoring the dark things because we only want to focus on the good. So I invite you to reread this in your own time. Again, like yesterday, it might bring up some negative emotions. You might be feeling quite heavily, but that's actually a really great journaling prompt, because those strong emotions can be transmuted if you sit with them and then write them out. The very act of putting everything that's going on in your physical body through a pen and onto paper is a very, very cathartic experience, and it can actually be very beneficial. So if anything here really triggers you, allow yourself to feel those feelings and really lean into your journaling practice to mitigate all of those emotions and those things that are going on inside of you. So a little bit of a dark side of the cycle in today's reading, but again, that is part of life. Unfortunately, war is part of humanity. It's been going on since, the dawn of time, since humans have existed. They just, for whatever reason, continue to choose to go to war with each other. It is part of the cycle of life, and it is something that no matter how horrible and devastating and negative it is something that does exist, and we can't ignore reality. So reread this in your own time, feel all the feels, and let it guide your journaling practice this morning. So thank you so much for being here for 179 days, and I will check in with you tomorrow.